Okay, if you've just been watching the program, we're trying to unfold the new provisions of the new Companies and Other Matters Act of Nigeria, which was left untouched since 2004. 24 years after, the 8th Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has now breathed a new life into this very important, in fact, the #1 investment and business law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Ayodeji Ebo, the Managing Director at African Securities, is here is bringing us up to speed on what he has read up and tried to chew overnight on this. It's just less than 24 hours, really, isn't it?
Yes.
It was past late yesterday afternoon, so we're just less than 24 hours. Angel, we're just giving this to you first here on Channels Television, trying to break it out. Let's take this to the marketplace and look at, because part of the provisions border on reduction in share capital, what you call, you can do share buyback, right. and you can do share reduction. How does it work in the marketplace, and how will it work under the new CAMA provision?
Yes, I think with the introduction of this new law, also the regulators within the capital market also need to sit down to
Which
review
is the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Securities and Exchange Commission, the Nigerian Stock Exchange,
NASS,
also CBN, because most of these companies will also open bank accounts with the bank. They also access credit with the bank. They also need to review the policy to align with this current
regulations,
so that in terms of what you require to open the account, what you require to set up. Then in talking regarding the reduction of share capital, you know, for companies, when you want to register, you require about 1 million. You have to have like 1 million ordinary share capital, which I think in terms of value, maybe like 10,000 based on CSC. For private company, I think it's about 10,000. Then for public company, about 500,000 naira.
Yes.
You need to set up the company. But now reducing it, though not able to ascertain exactly the new minimum, but that means that in terms of the cost that you need to pay to have to set up to have your authorized share capital before you issue the shares will not be as much as what you used to have. That goes to in terms of the cost of setting up the business
and ease of
the business
setting up business.
The business. Also, in the last the whole CAMA Act, for shareholders, the company cannot support in terms of gift loans for those companies to either have to buy back their shares. But now it's been more flexible, such that companies can support their shareholders to buy their shares. Though more information is required regarding that particular act.
I'm sure the lawyers
would also be able to give us more flesh on
how this will work out, because that talks about beneficial ownership, reduction in share capital, what you call financial assistance, looking at a market-friendly advancement. That's what this document, which enable shareholders and potential shareholders have access to funds, which in turn enable them to invest in such companies. So if you talk about companies listed on the stock exchange, for example, or listed companies on the NASS or over the counter, this is where these platforms will be looking at the details of this.
Yes, they would be interested in the details to see how they can also amend some of the existing laws to align with this. Because, like you know, the currently you look at the equities market is not a proper representation of even the economy. You see, most of the major sectors that contributed to the GDP are not listed. Agri contributes significantly. You have just Okomu Oil, Presco listed on the stock exchange. Telecoms contributes significantly. Though we're expecting the IPO of MTN Nigeria on the stock exchange to be listed on the stock exchange, but it's not really a representative of what is really happening in the economy. So the regulators, the capital market operators will also need to sit down how they can attract these startup companies. Maybe either create a board for them that people, for individuals that have been able to set up their company, run the company maybe in the last 1 or 2 years and can demonstrate value. And people can
so we can see the emergence of our own Mark Zuckerberg, isn't it?
Exactly.
And the folks and the likes.
Yes,
And we have quite a number of them here we don't have our own Mark Zuckerberg. Well, we don't mind having one whose company is listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, or even if it's the NASS OTC, and says, well, I'm worth several millions or billions of naira because I'm a startup and I'm just wearing T-shirt.
Yes, we're really going to have a lot of them. You look at the long-term view in terms of the potential, and some of them just require little capital just to kickstart even their business.
But when they thought about how much it takes to go through CAC,
and also to get people to sign up as directors,
find the right people, yes.
Find the right people that you are not scared of people taking over your ideas.
So this is your idea. This is my my intellectual property and what have you and all of that. So I can take that to the business registration point. Yes. Perhaps with the discussion only with my wife in the other room, and then, but I, as Bosun, can go ahead and unveil register as a limited liability company and even have my patent and all of that.
Yes, you can, and you can have your patent and you can run your business, run your idea, reduce the cost of running business. You don't have to have AGM, appoint company secretary, get auditors to audit your account. But once you are able to get out of the woods, stabilize, then you can begin to consider some of these things for you to be able to access new investors or get capital.
So perhaps this will open the door for banks to start giving credit to small and medium enterprises. Maybe.
Yes, maybe. The major problem that we know has been a concern to some of these banks is there's still a lot of structural issues. Yes, it's good you can be able to set up your business, but when you look at the cost of running the business, so when you compare it to the return, that's the potential return from that business, sometimes you are unable to service your loan.
I'm gonna give loans if I can see a very good idea. I can see the cash flow.
Yes,
and I can see the guy is young, he has age on his side, and what have you. I can look into his books, and I can just say, well, take credit.
No, they will also be considering that segment. They can try to create maybe a department to understand potential startup, understand the business, understand the cash flow, and maybe start with 1 or 2% of their shareholders fund. At least they look at their value at risk and set it aside for that, and see as they continue to understand that particular sector, understand the startups, understand the potential value, they can begin to increase the amount of allocation to that particular space.
This means that this new document passed yesterday by the National Assembly should be what banks, central bank, the SEC, everyone should be pouring over right now, this morning, as we get onto this business day.
I also feel there would have been some form of engagement with them in one place or the other. It's not just going to be based on the committee that have sat on that. I think there was also a public hearing regarding this some time ago. So their input would have also be part of this. And what they just need to also sit back is looking at their current rule, current policy. How do we need to tweak it? How do we need to align it such that the bank is not at risk, investors is not at risk, and when they are registering the company? Because you look at the requirement of even opening an account with a stockbroking firm, very cumbersome. Some of those things need to be reviewed.
Now you're speaking to what you do every day.
Yeah, some of those rules need to be reviewed, because if you have your BVN, you have your GSM that is registered, I don't think you need any utility bill. You can track the person with this, the national identification number. You have these three things. I think you should be able to open a stockbroking account. You should be able to operate an account to
anything. You want your some reenactment in your own line of business. You're very smart. I can see how you're linking the securities market to this new CAMA, isn't it, to reduce some of the provisions as well?
Yes, I know a lot is being done concerning that. Last year, the SEC introduced the low risk accounts that if you don't require KYC, that's maximum turnover, I think about 300,000. And you don't require KYC to open the account. There's also the mid-level lower account, mid-level risk account that is about you require just your ID card. Then when you go beyond the 300,000 naira levels, then you require KYC to set up. That's a good start, but I think we need to look beyond that and consider the risk, because it's also affecting business. You have less than 4,000 CSS accounts in Nigeria. When you compare it to the total population, compare it to number of BVN accounts, compare it to the number of registered GSM accounts, about close to 80 million unique numbers, you see that we are still very far in terms of deepening the capital market, getting investors to come into the capital market.
And with this one man, this single member companies, means that I could open a brokerage firm?
No, you would also require capital. That will require capital to open a brokerage firm, because you are dealing with investors' fund. So not just is one to reduce the barrier, to increase the barrier of setting up a brokerage firm. It's not based on the number of stockbroking firms. You see, from when the post-consolidation era, we have more efficient banks. So it's not about the number. We have over 200 stockbroking firms. But if you have fewer stockbroking firms, stronger in terms of operational, in terms of ethics, in terms of integrity, that will go a long way in terms of boosting confidence in the market, in terms of attracting more investors in the market. Understanding the market, so not just having people that sell or buy the product, but understanding the product that you also sell. It's key, because you have to educate your potential investors, educate your clients to understand the risks they are taking, to understand which products they should invest in terms of the classes of financial assets that are available.
How does this entire CAMA review fit into the Buhari's administration's economic and recovery growth plan?
Yeah, it's aligned significantly with the plan, because one of the major objectives is to create jobs. And for most of these companies that have been operating on their own without registration, or because of the challenges of setting up the accounts, registering the accounts, some of them have not been able to grow those ideas. So if they're able to grow those ideas, they can employ more people. In terms of revenue generation, once you register, you'll be able to, the tax guys will be able to capture your account, and you'll be able to remit as appropriate. And you also look at ease of doing business. We know a major challenge will be, how do we enforce this rule? How do we enforce some of these policies? There are a lot of laws in Nigeria, but enforcement is a major challenge that for most foreign investors. You discover, looking at the Q1 2018 report on capital importation, we're only able to attract about 4% foreign direct investment. That tells a lot. Went into that hot money, short-term fund. That is very critical. So I know it's the government is doing a lot in terms of easing ease of doing business, and we saw last year that we ranked as most improved, number 10 most improved economy. We know with some of these things, if we're able to work on enforcement, the judiciary needs to play a major role in this, such that they are able to enforce this where issues arise.
In terms of financial system stability, would you expect some knock-on effects of the new CAMA on the entire FSS?
Yes, it's also going to have, in terms of changing the way they also operate, in terms of changing the way they assess credits, in terms of changing the way they register open bank accounts, is really also going to affect that. And based on what the CBN is also looking at, financial inclusion is also very key. For most of these people, they can't even have their bank account because of the requirements, because you have to first set up your company before you even have the bank account. So some of these things will ease the process of setting up the account and doing business.
Investors' confidence, improved confidence. Thank you for your first word. A bit exhaustive, but still a lot of it to expand in the days and weeks ahead. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate your first word on the new Companies and Allied Matters Act. Less than 24 hours ago, and we're raising the curtain. Ayode Jiebo, the Managing Director at Afrinvest Securities. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back after the break. Still looking at 40 oil going forward. How do we trade the expectations of a major divestment from one of the leading integrated energy trader on our market?